Welcome to Building Winning Lives with Bishop KJ Brown. This is an informative lesson on practical, effective Christian development and growth. Now, here's today's lesson with Bishop KJ Brown.
This is Bishop KJ Brown. Thank you for joining another edition of Building Winning Lives. As always, the purpose of this podcast is for understanding and application of the lessons that we teach, so that we might be able to build winning lives. What we're going to talk about this week is legacy, inheritance, and values. Legacy, inheritance, and values. What is a legacy? When I think of legacy, I think of not just that's monetary, but that has value beyond money. Legacy is a gift or property, money. Sometimes it's handed down by will when you're talking about financial or things that need to be done. From the past, or from a person in your past, or from your family, your ancestors, your predecessor. But most of the time, when I think about legacy, it always goes back to, in my mind, more to your profession. What do you do with your life in terms of your profession, and also your material wealth. And so when we look at that, it's a good thing to be able to leave something to your family, to your children. But we also have to realize that legacy is more than financial. It's more than financial. Legacy to me is you also want to look at the lessons that was passed down, the values that was passed down, the behavior that was passed down, the things that you learn by being in that family. You know how family, they have a reputation. They have a legacy of being hard workers. They have a legacy of being educators. They have a legacy of being people that walked in integrity. So when you look at legacy, I want to think about that as how would people remember you? How will people remember you? What are you building now is the question. What are you building now that will have people to remember you even later? Therefore, legacy is what you build, how you live, your actions, your deeds, your decisions. So I believe that legacy is both material, professional, and private. Just as inheritance is multifold, legacy is multifold. Excuse me. Let's look at this in Deuteronomy. I believe Scripture teaches, and I won't read the Scripture, but I'll talk about it in Deuteronomy 11:18-21. What was really instructed to those people in Scripture is that to teach to your children, so they'll understand the legacy. When you walk, when you lie down, and when you rise up. When you walk, when you lie down, and when you rise up. I think the point I want to look at with that is that when we're teaching legacy to our children, when we're teaching them the values and things like that, if we do it when they walk, when they lie down, and when they rise up, then it's not like sitting down for a lesson. It's more like it's a part of your lifestyle. So legacy should be your lifestyle and what they see you do and what you say and what you sit down in particular and tell them about certain things. My dad taught me a lot of lessons, and I guess you could say the classroom was a pickup truck, because my dad was one that my whole life he basically always had a pickup truck, and it was Ford was the brand that he liked. So I grew up riding in Ford pickup trucks. And I enjoyed riding with my dad. But what a lot of people didn't understand, it wasn't a matter of riding in the truck that would excite me so, but it was the lesson I would learn, the things that Dad would say while we was riding in the pickup truck. I was glad to hear those stories. My mother also was a teacher and really a teacher in church. a teacher in life, a teacher at home, and most of her lessons was not in. It was not in the pickup truck. When my mom, it was lessons that she taught at home. It was lessons that more times than not she taught in the kitchen. While she was cooking, she would talk, and sometimes she would sing and things like that. And it's things that I would see my mom do that I learned, and lessons that was passed down, things that I do even now, that was lessons and legacy. I call it a spiritual legacy that was taught to me by my mom. So both my parents taught, they just taught in a different way. When you talk about lessons, think about it like this. It's you have visual lessons, what you see. You have verbal lessons, what people say. But then you have tactile lessons is what I call it. What people do and what they get involved with, what they stand by your side and do together. You know, the things, me and my dad worked together. Me and my mom did some things together. And you remember those lessons. And so the question I ask in your legacy, what memories will people have of you? Because no matter what you do in life, someone is also going to remember your failure in addition to your successes. But keep in mind that people don't know everything about you, and we're not perfect. But in leaving our legacy, we have to understand that there are people are going to sometimes point to the negative rather than the positive. And what I'm going to say to you is choose the high side. Choose the side of positive. Choose the side of encouragement. Choose the side of being something that people can count on and draw strength from rather than frown upon. See, your reputation is what people say about you, but your character is who you really are. Let me say that again. Your reputation is what people say about you, and they might not even know you, but what your character is what you really are. A good name is considered to be better than even riches. Scripture talks about that in Proverbs 22. It says a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, rather than silver and gold. So even though money is a good thing, money is not the only thing. Even though money is a good thing, money is not the only thing. It would be a sad case for you to be known for money, but also be known to be one that don't walk in integrity, to be one that's a crook, to be one that is hateful to people, and all of those things. So we have to think about the fact that it's just not about having money in terms of legacy, but what do you have? What do you bring to the table? How does your life bring value? How does your life bring value to the people around you? How does your life bring value to the world? How does your life make life better, not just for those in your immediate family, for those around you, because they're learning from you. They're drawing from you because you have something to offer. So even though financial wealth is a good thing, when we talk about legacy, I think the lessons and the values and the things that you share with people is also a good thing. My father was a sharecropper. His dad was a sharecropper. They did other things, but a lot of times my dad would use lessons with that in terms of what they came from and what they did. He was a sharecropper in Louisiana. And so he said that it's a good thing to work, and work is a good thing, but you got to work smart. And you need to work hard, but you also need to work smart. He says, so if you can learn to work smart and hard, you're going to get the best results. And so that's something that has stayed with me my whole life, in order to work smart and hard. And then also a thing I added in my latter years, learning through trial and error and the experiences I've had, is that you also need to learn a way that money is being made even while you sleep. While money is being made even while you sleep, whether that may be investment wise or business that's structured that way or whatnot, because you can just work yourself to death in terms of just working. And it's a good thing to have some monies that are that come about without you actually physically having to be there, because you only can work so many hours a day. You can only do so much. Now, my father taught me a lot about making money, and we was in a construction related business. He taught me a lot about that. But to be perfectly honest, my dad didn't teach me a lot about what to do with the money after you make it. And that's just as important as making the money, because you can make money and it can be gone just as quick as you make it if you don't have a plan. Every person that has any kind of income, no matter what amount it is, you need a plan. And I'm going to share with you, and all of them just happen to be in the letter P, because sometimes my mind thinks like that. I believe in planned spending. Income, that's how you produce money. The Bible talks about is God gives you the power to gain wealth, how you produce money. But not just producing money, but how do you plan with that money? How do you divide the dollar up? And I'm talking about legacy. How do you divide that dollar up to whereas your legacy is not a life full of financial stress? And I know things happen, medical things happen, unexpected things happen, but try to plan as best as you can, and also be prayerful. Plan and be prayerful, and that may be a different prayer for different people. And I know that's a lot of P's, but how do you plan to spend what you spend? How do you plan to produce? How do you plan in terms of preparation? I believe investment should be looked at long-term and short-term. Long-term and short-term. How do you prepare in terms of that? Prepare for the future. I hear people say all the time, but you live like today is your last day. Well, I understand that ideology, but also we have to live in such a way that tomorrow is going to come and we still going to have things to do or things that need to be done. So yes, it's good to live for the moment and enjoy life. Scripture talks about us enjoying the fruit of our labor, but it's also you need to be preparing for another day. So part of what we need to look at in dividing up the dollar is to preserve. Spend some, save some, prepare with some, plan in terms of spending with some. And then also partition. I know some people do not believe in it, but I believe that credit can be a good thing when used properly. Credit can be a good thing when used properly. Don't overload yourself. And debt management. Most people, if you read on the internet or people that do money management, they will tell you that it's a certain amount that is a comfortable or good debt and things. Some people think that it's best to have no debt at all. I'm not going to really go back and forth about debt in terms of should you have any at all and should you pay cash for everything. I've even heard a person say you need to pay cash for your house and your car and everything. You should not use credit at all. Well, I think that can be a bit much to not have any forms of credit. And then there are some things that you need a credit card in order to be able to do, especially when it gets to be travel and other things. They don't want cash. They want a credit form in order to reserve what that is. So, but I'm also going to say, and this is especially for husbands, but it's germane to wives too. I believe you should never have more debt than, number one, that you can manage, and that I also think you should never have more debt that your insurance policy that you have. And I'm not giving in financial advice, but at the same time, I'm saying that it would not be a good legacy, because I'm going back to the lesson. It would not be a good legacy for, and I'm just going to use this for an example. Your house, what you owe on your house is so much that if you were to pass, then your family would be put outside because they wouldn't be able to afford it. So I would say, and I'm just going to use your numbers for an example. If the mortgage on your house, the balance is 100,000,